Mr. Jimmy, the man of the hour, the Jerry Clower of Georgia, they hear. How you doing, my friend?
Mr. Jace. I hear you, bud. What's going on?
Oh, man, excited to have you on. I can't wait to hear some of your stories. I know that you got a great young man right here, Host Tanner Mooney. How you doing there, brother?
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a very special guest for you today. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy Cofer Sr.
What's going on, y'all?
Boy, we're excited to have this fellow on.
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Jimmy, so
Yes,
how long you been in this industry?
Shoot, I got started coon hunting probably, I'm going to say somewhere in the early to mid 70s.
Mid 70s.
I got started out with a cousin of mine. He had two dogs. He had a leopard cur and a black and tan. And they was both good dogs, but they was just pleasure dogs, you know?
Yes, sir.
And never heard of no competition hunts or nothing like that. Then I got dating pretty heavy. You know, you go through them periods in your life, you know.
Get to liking them ladies.
Yeah. So got to dating. So I quit hunting there for a few years and ended up getting married. And actually, my insurance man, which is Tanner and Dave's, he's actually Dave's uncle.
Right.
He's Big David's brother. And he come by to sell me some insurance, and I had a little red bone puppy. And he heard it barking out back, and he said, "You coon hunting?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to get started back, blah, blah, blah." So that's how I actually got started back. Then that went on for, I don't know, maybe a year, and we kind of bonded together and become partners and decided we could probably do better with dogs, different dogs than what we had. So
yes, sir.
That kind of got it rolling. So, and once it started rolling, it just kind of went downhill, you know. He brought up the idea about going to competition hunts. I didn't know nothing about it, but we got started going. It didn't take us long to figure out what you had to have to win. So,
and what was that?
You had to have the right dog at the right time.
All right. What was the right dog at the right time in those days, Mr. Jimmy?
Back in them days, I tell you, I was hunting a hard time breed of dog, English dog. It was originally out of hard times spec, which, you know, he was a walker dog.
Yeah.
And they single registered him as an English dog to try to promote the English breed. And he was 100% coon dog. I mean, he was tough, and he throwed good puppies. So we had a blue female. It was an English female, and we bred her back to Little Spec, which was directly out of the original Spec. And man, you talk about tree dogs now. That female could throw tree dogs. There wasn't no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jason, I've been hearing this all my life about how great these dogs were. And we was sitting around last night, and Jimbo, he found some old picture albums, you know, and we was flipping through them. And I don't know, I've heard all the stories and finally get to see some pictures put with the stories. You know, it was pretty cool. I guess they won their fair share, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I guarantee you they did. And, you know, that line of dogs back in the day, I can only imagine a difference in hunting those style of dogs. Because back in those days, how long were the hunts back then, Jimmy?
3 hours.
3 hour hunts.
3 hour hunts, yeah.
You know, you say that to this generation, my generation and Tanner's generation. That is like, we've never heard of such.
No, we hunt 60 and 90 minutes.
Right. Them 90-minute cast, boys. The 2 hours is long to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
And, you know, it took a good dog and a good handler to make him 3 hour hunts.
And I bet it had to take a very, very honest dog.
It did. And you know, Jason, back in them days, the dogs wasn't as independent as they are today. I mean, you know, you turn 4-dog cast out, they probably hit the same track. And that dog come treat pretty much the same, but, you know, they'd be some that'd be way ahead. But the way they got these dogs bred up today, they're just everything's independent, you know.
Yes, sir.
You turn loose a cast, want to go north, want to go south, want to go east. So it's a lot different now than what it was back in my day, at least from what I see. But I don't go much, not very little. I'll go with Tanner,
yes,
guard the truck, but
he's the truck man.
I heard Tanner, he's a certified truck man.
He is. Yeah, he's a certified truck man.
I do the best I can with what I got to work with.
I hear that. Well, Tanner, now you got into some squirrel hunting early on in age with Mr. Jimmy, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Me and Jimbo, we've been running these squirrel dogs pretty good while now. And let me tell you, there's some good ones tied up back here.
Let's talk a little bit about this squirrel dog. Tell me how you got into it with Jimmy and what you learned from Jimmy.
Me and Dad had got to squirrel hunt a little bit. We didn't have nothing worth of crap, you know. He was just hunting. And Jimmy, you know, we got always coon hunted together since I was a little kid and since my dad was a little kid, you know. So found out Jimmy had a squirrel dog and a good one. And so me and Dad come down here and went hunting. And well, yeah, imagine that. Yeah, Jimmy, if there's one tied up here, he's gonna be a good one, I promise you. So we come down here and went hunting with him, and he was right. He was sure enough nice. And Jimmy, you know, he likes to give me a hard time. And we was out there hunting. He said, "Son, you're gonna have to get you a dog that can keep up. This is plumb embarrassed." So that kind of put me and Dad on the search to find something we could keep up with, you know. So that's how this whole monster got created. And we ain't looked back.
Really, what was your first squirrel dog that really stood out to you? And what makes a complete squirrel dog?
Number one, excuse me, is the way he handles. I think you got to have a real good handling dog before you got a real good squirrel dog. Because you're not hunting the big areas of land like you coon hunting, you know. And squirrel dog, most of them go hunt closer than what coon dogs do. But when I started out this squirrel dog thing, I had not been moved down here too long. I got wanting a squirrel dog because I couldn't stay up all night to coon hunt. So I got doing some research, got a lot of phone numbers, and talked to a lot of people. And 7 out of 10 people told me, if you want a real squirrel dog, you need to talk to James Parnell in Hartsfield, South Carolina. And so I finally got in touch with Mr. James and talked to him several times. And over the phone, we got to be real good friends. He's passed away now. He had a line of squirrel dogs that I just don't know that you can beat them. I mean, they're bred right, they're smart, they handle good, and start extremely early. And by early, I mean when Rooster was 2.5 months old. 2.5 months old now, he treated his first squirrel by himself in the woods. No help from me. And from that moment on, he just got better every day. Every day he was a better squirrel dog today than he was yesterday. And a lot of people's hunted with him, and a lot of people's asked me, how'd you train him? I said, I didn't. That dog trained me. And he's just one of them dogs that I think you're lucky if it comes along once in a lifetime, you know.
Right.
He's just tough. I mean, he minds me better than a lot of kids do. He just jammed up squirrel dog. He's honest, and when he falls tree, the meat's gonna be there,
right? Or
he ain't gonna get up on the tree.
Now, what do you think makes that? What do you think makes that?
The breed. I think the breed of dog makes it. I really genetics. Do. Yeah, and I think in the back of your mind, see, when I was coon hunting, I was an English man, and you're a walker man, which there's nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
And I know you've seen a ton of really good walker dogs, and I've seen a ton of really good English dogs. So at the end of the day, I can't say that one's any better than the other. A lot of it goes back to the handler, you know, especially on these hunts.
Yeah, because I think something, that's it's missed a lot, and we've talked about it in a couple of my episodes now, is that true bond between the dog and the handler. That thing's real.
Right.
That's real. Right. And it's something that I really hope that everybody that listens to this podcast really and truly understands is, man, you've got to put in that time with that dog. You've got to love that dog. And if you do it, that rascal will love you back and then some.
Yeah. And when I got Rooster, I had a tree and fast. And I bought her in South Carolina, Lawrence, South Carolina. And she become more of a buddy than a squirrel dog. Now she'll tree an easy squirrel. And at night she's tough on possums that comes up in the yard. But
we traded one with her last night.
Yeah.
That's right. But she's not a squirrel dog. She's a buddy dog. Yeah. But I spent a lot of time with her. But Rooster was the only squirrel dog I had at the time. And I spent a lot of time with that dog. Now keep in mind now, I live by myself in the middle of nowhere. And I'm just surrounded by woods. So it's easy to get a dog started. Now you know this yourself, Jason. And your dad, he's an excellent dog man. He's going to say the same thing. The more time you spend with them, the more you're going to get out of them.
Amen.
That's right. Amen. Without a doubt,
My dad told me many, many times, son, the more trees you walk to, the better you're going to get.
That's right.
It's no different than any other sport out there. The more you put in it, the more you get out of it. You go to these bigger competitions, you can find yourself gut check too.
Yeah. And I'll tell you the way I am. If my dogs do me right, I think they do me right. They do a good job for me. And you'll get a bond with these dogs. Now, I've had, a few people, several people that's come up and went hunting with me. We get back to the truck to load up. And how much you want for that dog? Well, he ain't for sale. Well, sure he is. How much you want for it? And you'll get that bond where, money's not the thing no more,
Amen to that. Yeah. Tanner just had that same issue recently. And then I did. And I went, oh, no.
Yeah.
But you're right. When you fall in love with these hounds and you spend that time, Jimmy, and Tanner, as well. I mean, you love fancy with all your heart. And that's why partly I'll let everybody know Tanner loves his dog so much. He's like me with Cheddar. It's just hard to take him to hunts because it's hard to get him beat. Yeah. And that's God's honest truth. We get too competitive. And Jimmy, am I right in that?
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when you get that attached to him, man, in all honesty, it can cause you some personal issues because you get protective and you don't want to get beat. And then guys are too proud to speak up and say, oh man, I need to back off, but in all reality, it's because you just love that dog so much and you want to see that dog win. And some of us just at times can get too serious. I've been guilty of it. Heck, I mean, yes, sir. And I'm out there to win every time. But the thing is love your dogs, but don't be too competitive.
Jimmy has this saying too. He's told me all my life, we'll be hunting a dog, and I'm the first one to get frustrated with a dog that ain't quite operating right. And he'll look at me and he'll say, son, they're dogs. Right. They're just dogs. None of them's perfect.
That's exactly right. Well, if you ever find a perfect one, I don't want it. I'm scared of it.
Back in the day when me and my partner, Sammy Mooney, was really hitting these hunts, we'd leave my house and, and then in my mind that I done had that hunt once before I got there because the rest of them was going to have to beat me.
Right.
I mean, I felt like I was ahead before I got there. That's just how good a dogs we had bred and worked with and hunted. So I thought them hunts was easy to win because they had to beat me. I didn't have to beat them. And I think if more people think like that, it might go better for them.
I've always showed up with a game face on, and I showed up with a dog I feel like I can win with. And if I don't feel like I can show up and whip your butt, in all honesty, I'm not going to be there.
No, you're wasting time.
Yes, sir. You're out there, you're spinning your wheels, you're wasting good, honest time when you could be spending that time with a good, honest hound and loving that hound and putting him in the woods.
Yeah, if you don't think you can win with that dog, you need to be at home hunting another dog that you can win with.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that. Now, so Jimmy, tell me kind of what made the transition from coon hounds on over to squirrel hounds.
To be honest with you, Jason, I lived about an hour and a half to hour and 45 minutes from here. Lived in town, lived in the subdivision, lived there 40 years. And wasn't no place to squirrel hunt. You know, you had to drive a couple of hours to get somewhere, so it just wasn't feasible, you know. And when I got down here, of course, like I said, I lived by myself and kind of got bored, you know. You had a 65-year-old at the time, knee replacement, not able to coon hunt, and I miss having hunting dogs.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the transition to squirrel hunt, because you can do it during the day and you can see where you're walking, you know, versus at night. At night, I spend more time on the ground than I do my feet.
Yeah. So now, Tanner, you done some pretty big squirrel hunts, and then you also won some pretty big squirrel hunts. Now, what did you learn from Jimmy in the field that took you to the top?
Yeah, so we got in the finals, couple world hunts, won some pro hunts, some state hunts and stuff like that. And Jimbo, he's been my truck man every hunt I went to. But the biggest thing I learned from Jimmy is, you know, just buddying with that dog, learning that dog, and laying in the woods with him. If you're going to do anything, you can't do nothing halfway. You got to do it all in or all out. And that's something I learned from Jimmy. You know, you got to get in there and grind and hunt as much as you can and prepare yourself and that dog as much as you can. And I learned all that from Jimmy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's something I'm really interested in, because I really have future plans in getting into squirrel dogs. We've discussed this personally. So coming from a complete novice, Jimmy, I'm going to ask you, what do you think should be my first steps as far as the difference between training the coon hound and training the squirrel hound?
Well, to be honest with you, there ain't a whole lot of difference, Jason. You know, a lot of people, they'll show it a cage coon, and a lot of people turn a cage coon loose for it. And that's about the same way with a squirrel dog. You know, squirrel dogs, puppies that I work with, I'll show them one, maybe two cage squirrels, and that's it. I won't show them no more. Then the next time they see a squirrel, I want them to see it going up a tree, you know?
Right.
So there's not, to me, there ain't really a whole lot of difference. The main thing is you got to wear out a pair of boots. When you get a pair of boots wore out and you've hunted one dog, you generally got a pretty decent squirrel dog.
Now I got a question. You know, in coon hounds, I run into a lot of issues. If you knock too many coons out to them, they'll tend to not want to leave that tree. You know what I mean? If you try to recast, they won't come back. Do you run into the same problem with the squirrel dogs if you start knocking every one of them out?
No, I haven't, but I could see how that could be a problem.
Yeah, because I was wondering if you run into that, because I'm sure you kill a lot of squirrels, because I know you have some nice dogs, and I've seen some pictures, and I've also talked to Tanner about it. But what's amazing to me is I find it interesting how y'all can just knock them squirrel out and just keep on rolling.
Well, with Rooster, now, of course, he's a little different, but, you know, if he gets treed if we're hunting, or he's just here at the house, he gets treed where I shoot that squirrel out during the season or leave it. All I got to do is tell him, dead squirrel, Rooster, let's go. And he leaves it. He gone. He catches it again. He ready to go. That's all I got to tell him.
And to me, looking at that, you know, that scenario, that's one thing going back to having a handle on a squirrel dog. Because we're killing a lot of squirrels with these dogs, especially young dogs. I mean, we're knocking them out left and right. If you've got a dog like Rooster that's got a good handle where you can say, Dad, let's go. You know, we never put leashes on these dogs. Like, you know, a coon dog, you'll leash at the tree and then walk him off. These squirrel dogs, we don't do that. I mean, you'll do it in a competition hunt, but us pleasure hunting, we'll never leash a dog. We'll say, Dad, come on, whistle at them. And that's a thing about having a handle on them, is they'll come to you, you know, and you say, find it, and they're gone again.
Tanner, I got a question for you. I have never, ever been to a squirrel hunt. I don't even know how one works at all. I would like for you to kind of break down the difference between just coon hunt and the difference between a squirrel hunt.
Okay, so difference between a coon hunt and a squirrel hunt, the biggest difference is there's no strike points. A squirrel dog's not going to open on the ground. They're not really supposed to open on the ground. So you're not going to strike them in. The only thing you're getting put on the paper for is tree points, tree genome through there. So that's really and truly, that's the biggest difference. Another big difference, we're coon hunting. Say your dog tree's right here. That coon better be sitting in the tree he's on, or he better be sitting in the tree next to it, but they got to touch. It's got to be legitimate. That coon's got to be able to cross out. But he better be in that tree your dog's treed on. Squirrel hunt, you got a 60-foot radius.
Oh.
Some places some registries I think are 40 foot, but a lot of them are 60 foot. And the reason that's put in place is these squirrels timber. And so you got to have a little leeway there. I mean, I've seen squirrels jump an ungodly amount. I mean, I've seen them run 4 or 5 trees over, so that's the reason they give you that search area, because a coon ain't going to run to the top of trees and timber out way down yonder somewhere where a squirrel is.
And what he's meaning by timber, folks, is I assume you mean by timber is jumping from tree to tree.
Yeah. Yes, sir. That's right.
Over.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I wanted to make sure, just so the audience knew that when he means timber, he does mean he's jumping from limb to limb.
Yes, sir. That's right. And we do a lot of, as far as squirrels timbering, we do a lot of road hunting, which means we put a dog in front of the truck. We go down the road. They wind a squirrel, hop off the road. Most of the time it's, either right there on the side of the road in a ditch, or it's not but 30 or 40 yards off the side of the road. And man, you pull up on a dirt road and you pull up and 4 guys jump out of trucks with shotguns, go to slamming truck doors, and there's a dog under that squirrel tree. That sucker's leaving here. He's gone.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. That's why we have the search area in the squirrel hunts, because them little boogers, they'll leave out on you if you ain't careful.
Yeah. Now, in coon hunting, we have the competition dogs, and then you got your pleasure dog. If you were to have the optimal competition dog, what would you look?
I want a dog that's super independent. Them dogs, the way our point system is set up in the competition squirrel hunts, it's you tree in for 100 for first and you tree in for 40 for second. So you better have a dog that's independent. If not, you're not going to win a whole lot of squirrel hunts. I want one just like coon dogs. I want that sucker stay by himself. I want him to be accurate. I want a dog to have a big winded nose, which means, squirrels aren't going to move all day long. So in your hunting rounds, just like coon hunts, you may hunt the first round, them squirrels are moving really well. And anything can tree them. And then you might go out the midday round and them things have been denned up for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Jimmy, you coon hunted all the way up till the early 90s?
I'd say 93, 94, somewhere right around in there.
Now, what kind of dogs did you handle between that time frame, all the way from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s? I mean, what were some of your better dogs and accomplishments?
I handled some Walker dogs, English dogs, and a couple of black and tans. It was actually pretty good dogs. I mean, they had their nights, but overall they were pretty dang good dogs.
Right.
But the Walker dogs and the English dogs, they was the main ones. I mean, they're so dang fast on the track. I mean, you get a good bred Walker dog. I mean, as good as I do, he better be moved. If he don't, he's gonna catch him on the ground.
I got one that for sure will.
See, there you go.
Yes, sir. And I've seen that little dog, Fancy, that Tanner has. I used to hunt her around some watermelon patches. And I remember one night she caught 3 in one night on the ground.
I'm sitting, Jimmy saying that hussy catch one in a creek bank.
She's insanely fast. She's little and a bolt of light. She is crazy and can flat put it on one.
Well, I got something for you, Jason.
Oh, what we got?
All right, you come in to see me this winter, because I'd really like to wind and dine you, and I'd like to show you what a real squirrel dog is.
Well, I'm going to have to take you up on that offer. I mean, are we serving, I don't drink no more. I'm a drinking man, been sober now almost 5 years. So I'll have to take me a tomato juice with a little bit of pickle in it. How about that?
Well, we can do that, whatever you like. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I'll show you what a squirrel dog's supposed to be when you get up here.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, Jimmy. I mean, I really am, because what I plan on doing, we're going to come up there, we're going to film it, we're going to do a lot of drone footage, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Now, you fish too, don't you?
Yeah, I fish right now I've been fishing too much, Jason. To be honest with you, I mean we've really stocked up the crappie and catfish this spring. We've got a lot of fish for sure.
What are y'all averaging now? How many a day?
Well, I'm gonna say 25 on the average crappie.
Man.
But catfish, we've caught anywhere from 75 to 100 pounds.
Woo! That's a good day.
Bluetooth disconnected.
Yeah, I mean, we really tear the catfish up. When we're catfishing, we use noodles.
Bluetooth disconnected.
People calls it joke fishing, but
yeah,
we fish a lot, and we've got a lot of fish. But I like to back up just a little bit, if you'd let me, and talk about when I was really coon hunting and winning a lot of hunts. I had a partner. His name was Sammy Mooney. He's Tanner's daddy's uncle. And to me, he was the number one partner. And still, to this day, you just couldn't beat him. I mean, every step I took, he took. And, but we had a lot of time. And I think if a lot of people had partners like I had back in the day, they'd be real appreciative of it because he was jammed up. He really was.
Yeah. Yeah. Kept you in a good dog too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He kept me in a good dog. He had a good female and she throwed puppies.
Yeah. What was her name?
Belle, B-E-L-L.
Oh, Belle. Oh, Belle.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
And now, Jimmy, if I'm right, y'all bred her to Little Speck, right? And isn't that where Maybelle come from?
Yep, that's where my Maybelle come from. And she was tough. I mean, that little hussy was a really genuine 100% coon dog. A lot of people said they got a 110% coon dog, but we all know it don't go past 100%. So.
Now we're speaking the truth, Timmy.
That's right.
They all 100% till you own it.
That's right.
Then you're like, oh, he ain't 100% no more.
And this man says he done some winning, but he done some winning. I can prove it to you. We got a little hunting cabin down here fixed up. You can go in there and it's wall to wall trophies and plaques from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It'll blow your mind when you walk in the door.
I'd like to know a little bit about what he's won.
Oh, geez. I mean, we won to Georgia State. I don't know how many times, Jason. I'd just be guessing at it. I'd have to talk to my partner to really have a good number for you. We qualified for the world hunts many times. It was pathetic. And been to the world hunt.
He's not lying.
We didn't ever win the world hunt, but we finished way up. We went to Alabama and done some hunting. We done some in Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, Orangeburg, South Carolina. We won several hunts over there.
Yeah, Orangeburg.
Yeah, and that ain't really all that far from where I'm at now, but we done our share of winning. But we put the effort in it, and we should have been. We should have won with as much effort that we put in it. And I remember one year we had a little female that we went to Franklin, North Carolina, and qualified her for the world hunt. And starting the very next night, we hunted her 69 nights straight, getting her ready for the world hunt. We hunted her in the wind, the heat, the rain, the snow, everything you could. But we turned her loose every night, getting her ready. And she was jammed up. She was jammed up coon dog. But yeah, me and my partner hunted 69 nights straight.
My gosh. How many coon you reckon she showed you?
Lord have mercy. They really no telling. Now, to be honest with you, some of them nights we might make 2 turnouts and go to the house. And of course I was working every day, but we turned her loose every night for 69 nights. And she treated coons every night. I mean, the wind, the rain, the heat, the cold. She was a coon dog. She was a real deal. With no doubt about it. And she was right out little speck, which was directly out of the originals. The original spec was 100% coon dog.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he'd have been really promoted in the big hunts like he should have been, there's really no telling how many world hunts that you could have won with that dog with the right handler.
Right.
And you know as good as I do, you got to have a handler as good as a dog is.
I tell you what, and that's lessons learned there. You know, in the past, I talk about this all the time. Know your rules, folks. Know your rules. If you don't have a good handler behind a great dog, you got to have great and great. You got to match each other. And you know, if you, it's no different than if you have a great quarterback but a sorry receiver. That receiver, if he ain't catching the ball, you ain't winning the game, boys.
That's right. And your daddy, Mr. Wayne, he come from the old school like I did. And he'd be the first to tell you, I'm sure, I'm going out on a limb, but I'm sure he'd say, Jason, your handler's got to be as good or better than the dog.
Yes, sir. My dad has always ingrained in me from the time I was little. He didn't put me in youth hunts or nothing like that. He gave me an opportunity to, and I played mainly just bench showing in the youth hunts because I liked hunting against the older gentlemen. Because I rode bulls that time too, and I grew up riding bulls, and I always learned as I was growing up, you get in there and you grind with them guys that are real tough. They'll teach you a lot, but it also teach you the rules.
Yeah, that's right.
That's but it's only earned by getting in there and just rubbing elbows and just earning it. You got to earn it.
That's right.
And that's what a lot of people don't want to do this day and time is they just want to buy a dog. And they want to go win a hunt. It doesn't work like that, folks. You might get lucky here and there. I'm not saying you won't. I mean, Tanner, you know this truth too. We've been in cast and seen some great dogs and be like, man, if you wouldn't have made that call.
I've been in a lot of hunts and seen dogs that just absolutely look phenomenal, and they make whoever's handling them, they make a bad call or something. And in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, boy, if somebody really knew what they was doing behind that joker right there, you wouldn't get banged.
Or you're sitting there going, man, if I get my hands on that rascal.
And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Jimmy Cofer is the world's worst. If he gets beat by a dog, now he's going to try to buy that sucker. I promise you, Jimmy's going to make sure he's got a good one standing here.
Well, I never forget when you were hunting Hank for Dad. And Hank was really showing out up there and doing well for you. And Jimmy said, hey, tell my daddy, what you want for that dog?
Up at Automoke.
Yeah, at Automoke. He said, I'm going to buy that dog. Daddy said, I can't sell him. But it's like Jimmy says, my daddy loves his dog. And you can't put a price on love, folks. And some people say, oh, that's foolish. You shouldn't be coon hunting if you like that. Well, that's your opinion. And we all have that right to that opinion. And I'm going to keep loving my dogs, and I'm going to hunt my dogs, and I'm going to keep doing what I do, because at the end of the day, I can truly take any one of you guys hunting. I'll show you a coon. Guarantee you.
That's right. The only way I'd sell my rooster dog, to be honest with you, and there's been a lot of people tried to buy them for a good amount of money. If one of my grandkids just had to have some money and I couldn't cover it, or one of my kids got sick and had to have some money, that'd be it. But other than that, I'll miss some meals before I let him go.
That's family. They're family.
That's just much, that's how much I think of him. I do without to make sure he eats good. And, because he's done me good, and he's really, he's made me look better than I've made him look. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He made me look good as a handler. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I got a quick question for you. Now, I know you up there in North Georgia. I ain't gonna say where you at, but I know you up there in Georgia. And I keep looking over at my screen, not seeing you, but I keep looking at these nice deer on the wall. Now, by golly, you guys killed some studs back there now, Jimmy.
Yeah, I've done pretty good over the years. I got a real good place to hunt here at the house, fortunately, and I got some lease land right across the street. And I kind of live on a backwoods road, and a friend of mine leases me some property, and it's a good piece of property to deer hunt on. I've been fortunate to kill a lot of deer, and the biggest thing, biggest pleasure I get out of deer hunting these days is watching them grandkids shoot. You know,
Right.
that's the biggest. That's the biggest thrill I get. I don't care if I never kill them.
You more of a still hunter?
Yes, yes, yes. We stand hunt. We hunt
Yeah.
out of a deer stand. Yeah.
Do you? Do you? Yeah, that's something I've always enjoyed. Nothing against the dog runners at all. I mean, I've been out there and had fun with them, and it's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but there's nothing like getting up on a cold morning and watching that sun break and having that nice buck just walk over. Now, I will say now, folks, in my defense, I'm in Florida. I don't get to see them big, nice giants like Jimmy gets to see and Tanner gets to see. But every now and again, I get spooked by one of the mountain goat. But it's a rarity. But when we get them, it's fun. But yeah, there's nothing like that morning break and that deer walking out, whether it's a doe or a buck, and then hearing that youngin sitting next to you getting all excited and fired up. My little girl, she's hunted with me since she was little. And boy, she'd get up there and she'd see that deer and she'd say, "Oh, Daddy's coming in." I'm like, "Baby, shh, be quiet." But daddy, I said, "Baby, you gotta be quiet." Next thing you know, a deer would spook. But the best thing of the day is to see how thrilled my youngin was seeing that deer coming in.
That's right. That's what it's about, Jason. It is about killing.
It's not about killing at all. And I try to instill that in my youngin, and I've always instilled that in anybody that hunts with me. Is, folks, you can hunt with me, but don't expect to go out hunting with me and knock every coon out, because it's not going to happen with me. And Tanner, you've hunted with me a lot, you know.
Oh yeah. And it's the same way here. We don't kill every coon. We don't kill every squirrel. We don't kill every deer that walks by.
No.
Yeah.
I tell you, when it comes to squirrel dog, if I got to shoot every squirrel that my dog trees out to him to keep him interested, I'm hunting the wrong dog, Jason.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't have to kill every squirrel to him. To me, if I have to do that, then I feel like that my dog just is not very intelligent.
No, he's not.
He's not at all.
I think 3 out of 10 is plenty.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
That's more than that. Now, Rooster, he wouldn't care if you never shot nothing to him.
It's just fun.
But he's a finished dog, you know.
Right.
He's what I'd consider to be finished.
Jimmy, one thing I'd like to get into a little bit. You've got a hunting partner right now that's a hunting with you a little, and I think we all kind of know him. Why don't you talk a little bit about Big Dave, about my daddy?
Oh, Big Dave, I want to tell you something. I've known Dave since your grandma, which her name is Margaret, was expecting Dave when she was pregnant with Dave. And I've known Dave all of his life. And when he got big enough to start going hunting with us, if he wasn't going with your grandpa, he was with me and Sammy. And
what age was that? Because this is a big man.
Yeah, he gained a lot of weight. He eats way too much in the walk class. He's a hog. If you know what a hog is. But anyway, when he was, an average sized kid, which he ain't no more, but I used to drag him across creeks and rivers and swamps and everything else. And the funny part about life, Jason, now he helps me across creeks and rivers and everything else. He'll say, "Come on, man, give me a hat." So,
he just floats you across there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I mean, he's like a big inner tube. You ain't gonna sink.
Yeah, y'all that don't know, my dad's about 6'3", and Jimmy's we aggravate him. He's not really this tall. We tell him he's 4'12" and a half. So
yeah,
it's like Mutt and Jeff out there when you see them together, and it's pretty hysterical. And and Jimmy will testify to this. Jimmy, will Dad stop to get you a bag of boiled peanuts?
No. That's the aggravatingest thing I ever have. Jason, we rode 8.5 hours And he told me we just stop at the next exit, the next exit, the next. And this went on till we got all the way to Autumn Oaks. He never
Still
stopped.
didn't have no peanuts.
No. And we asked the lady at the convenience store where I could get some. She never had heard of them.
He lied to us all the way up there, didn't he, Jimbo?
All the way up there, he lied to us. So the next time we go to Autumn Oaks, I'm going to cook me and Tanner 2 bags full.
3 bags.
And we're going to eat the peanuts and we're going to throw the holes on his windshield. That way he don't get none.
That's right.
Big Dave, you going to shrivel up, big fella.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
So Jimmy, you and Daddy, y'all hunted together. I guess it's about as long as Dad's been big enough to go hunting, and y'all done a lot of training dogs together and stuff like that. You and Dad, y'all seem to see eye to eye on some of the training stuff. Dad's a pretty good pup man. You're a heck of a pup man yourself. What's kind of some of the, if you want to give them away, I know you ain't gonna tell all your secrets, but what's some of your secrets keeping these good dogs? Every time I've ever been hunting with you, and I've been hunting with you my whole life, you've always got a good one at the end of your lead, and it's 99% of the time something you train. So what's some of those secrets you might give away a little bit there?
Well, it was kind of like me and Jason was talking earlier. You got to spend time with them, and these Garmins that all these young people use, and which I use one too, but they're a good training tool. I don't never want to get to where I'm just dependent on one, but they're good to get one whistle broke. Now, I got 2 prospects I'm working on now, and they're both whistle broke. And they're running, and they're in the front of my truck or side by side. If I want them to stop and turn around and come back to me, all I got to do is whistle. And, some people would tone them to get them to come back, but I think it's a lot easier and it's a lot more personal if they'll react to a whistle command.
Right.
I like for one to know when I whistle, you come to me. You need to be coming this way.
Right.
If you don't, we may have to do something else.
Right.
But I like it. I like having the whistle broke. And Rooster's a real good example of that. Now, he can be 150 yards in front of that truck. And Tanner testified to it, and Dave will too. Right. If I hang my head out the window and whistle, or on that side by side and whistle, he spins on a dime.
Right.
On a dime.
And folks, when Jimmy says he's got one whistle broke, he literally has him whistle broke. Just like Mary, you've got that Garmin in front of us and we're hitting the tone button. Or, me and Jason, we use something, whatever you're using with your handheld. Jimbo here, he's got his whistle broke. He takes it a little step further. When he whistles, them suckers are coming around.
We was at a hunt one time, Georgia State hunt, and old Maybelle, she was treed out in a bad place. A lot of water. And I done had to hunt one before they ever made that tree. And a guy that rode with me, I didn't know him, he just needed to ride him and his little boy. He said, if you sit here with my little boy, and he was asleep in my truck, he said, I'll bring your dog back. And I said, well, I plan on sitting here with your kid. You go get your dog, the kid'll be fine. But I said, my dog will be fine. I'll get him back. And he said, well, how you going to get him back? So I climbed up on top of that toolbox and whistled one time. He shut up. And he was on that tree just a beller. But a few minutes, he hit the dog box. And that guy said, I've never seen nothing like that in my life. I've been hunting 45 years. I ain't never seen nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But something I like about whistle breaking is it's a different type of command. You're not getting somebody, hey, hollering at them and stuff like that, because anybody can holler.
Anybody can holler.
That's right. But boy, when you start using the whistle, I bird hunted some, and actually quite a bit. And I learned quite a few, bird handlers, they use a lot of whistles, but some of us use a lot of whoop, 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 and we change our tone and our voices. Yeah. And so the higher the tone or the lower tone per how the handler uses it, is your danger zone. you know, so you can whoop, 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 and you can start talking low to them. And that's your danger. And it's pretty cool to watch that. And it's pretty cool how you use the same reference in whistles as I've seen it in bird hunting used. And they also use it in the herding. Herding is big in using whistles.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Now, when we're talking about whistle broke, Jason, I'm not using a hand whistle. I just use my mouth. Yeah,
wow.
That's right. I just use my mouth.
And Jimmy, you know, you've trained some really nice dogs. You've all, like I said a while ago, you've always got a nice one on the end of your lead. And we talk about some of your training secrets. You think your success to having all these good dogs over the year, you think it's your training methods, or you think it's just having a good pup to start with? You know, one with, you know, got a lot of sense, a lot of intelligence to them. Or do you think maybe it's a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. I'm going to go back to what we talked about earlier and say I believe it's going to be 75% of the breed and how they're bred. I really believe that. And I think build a good house if the blocks are crumbling down. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right.
You got to have a good foundation to start with. And, you know, me and your daddy, Dave, fortunately, we've always had a pretty good foundation to start with. Now, he's got a breed of dogs up there now, little white dogs, little fast dogs. And they start early. They got a lot of sense. He does a good job with them, and they're good bred squirrel dogs. Now, he got one up there now, male dog. He's tough. He's tough for me to beat.
Yeah.
You know, I got to get up early and get a good set of britches on if I'm going to beat him that day. Because, you know, me and Dave, we like to go at it. We like the competition, even just pleasure hunt, you know.
Well, what kind of competitions y'all in? I heard Dave likes to drive.
Oh, he does. He does. I ain't no doubt about that.
Is he a pretty good truck man, Jimbo?
Dave, he's a good tailgate guy. Let's put it like that. I ain't gonna say he's a good truck. He's a good tailgate guy.
So he ain't very good if he's under the wheel.
No. Let's put him on the tailgate. He's a lot better.
So when the tailgate drops for Dave, it starts.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Well, we got to give him a hard time.
Let me ask you something, Jimmy. I'm curious about this. When you're picking out a squirrel pup, what are you looking for specifically when you're picking out a puppy?
Well, I tell you, Jason, I bought a few, and I bought them in South Carolina. I'd go up there, and if there was 5 or 6 puppies in a little brood pen, I'd take them out and put them on the ground. And I'd want to see one that was barking. Just barking to be barking. For no reason. Just bark, 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 bark. And he always kind of stayed to himself. And I'd get to messing with them. Then the more I petted them, the more they'd want to play and bark. That's what I look for. Just kind of stay to itself and kind of shy. I'd pass on them.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted one that had a little vinegar to it, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want a whole lot of vinegar, but I want a little bit.
Now, would you do the same in coonhounds when you were picking them?
Yeah, I would. I would. Yeah, I would. The only difference between squirrel dogs and coon dogs, when I was really trying to pick out a coon dog puppy, I'd try to find one that wanted to eat by itself and wanted to stay to itself.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a little bit independent. And we had a litter of puppies one time, and we had one that stayed to himself. He didn't want nothing to do with the rest of them puppies. He wouldn't play with them. He was just always to himself. And we kept him. Now, I'm going to tell you something. He turned out to be 100% coon dog, too. He was tough. We named him Agon. He was jam up coon dog.
Man.
But I always kind of looked for one that kind of stayed to himself and, you know, really didn't care what the rest of them was doing and really wasn't depending on them to do nothing.
Right. Yeah. You like a more independent dog. That's kind of what I like. I like a one-man dog, you know.
Well, I can guarantee you your daddy wants one independent.
That's how I guarantee you. If Wayne Hunter has one, and shout out to my pops out there, I love him to death, and he's sure taught me a lot. If that dog goes to covering, Wayne Hunter goes getting rid of it.
That's right. Wayne Hunter wants one that's going to be by itself all night.
That's right. I've always said when Dad gets a dog, if that dog goes to covering, he ain't loved no more.
No, Wayne Hunter. Now, when I went to Autumn Oaks, that was the first time I'd been to in a while. But I want to tell you something. My Wayne Hunter impressed me. We went on a practice cast, just, a practice cast one night. Wayne Hunter, he's a little bit older than I am, but Wayne Hunter's still tough. I'd hate to have to hunt against him. He'd be a handful.
You don't want none. I had to do it, Jimmy, and I beat him, but I'm gonna tell you, I earned it.
you had to. If you beat Wayne Hunter, you had to earn it.
You dang right.
He knows what a dog is, and the main thing, Wayne knows how to handle a dog.
Sir.
He knows what that dog is doing before anybody else does.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, you was talking a while ago about an independent type dog, and and then earlier you was talking about the cast back in the 70s, 80s, on up into the early 90s. You're saying dogs packed together. When do you think that those dogs really started getting independent? We started seeing dogs that like to stay to themselves more than they like to, pack up. When did you see that start changing?
I'm gonna say in the mid to late 90s. You could see it coming. It was kind of a red flag. The more big hunts you went to, the more independent dogs you'd hunt against. And they wanted to get by themselves and get free. And I guess the best one I ever seen at that, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but I drove out with him several times. Excuse me. He had a little female he called Squrrel, a little walker dog. And she was little, and she squealed on the track, but she was good on the tree. But I never could beat her. And she done it honest, and he done it honest. But I never could beat her. But she was so independent, it was pathetic.
Yeah.
But that was the first, I'd say the first really independent dog I ever seen. She was tough. She was hard to beat.
And probably deadly accurate.
Handler, extremely accurate. When she come on the tree, everything sounds so good, and you could bet the truck he was driving, she had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I never seen her miss, and he beat me fair and square every time I ever dropped out with him.
Yeah,
real nice guy, real quiet guy, but he was tough, and she was tough.
Yeah,
people that beat you fair and square, they tend to stick in your mind.
Yeah, actually, the guy I'm on the pro staff with, Philip, he owns Ringtails and Tall Tails, and he's the one that gives these razor vests, and I'm sponsored by him, and he's just been a blessing to come into my life. But believe it or not, when we took third in the Grand American with Breaking Bad, he was our judge. And he sure was, and we struck up a friendship, and we always kept in touch with each other, and we see each other at the hunt, say hello and stuff like that. And I seen he was kicking his business up, and I said, "Hey man," I said, I really appreciate you for the respect you treated us with. The 2 times my dad drew him a separate time, had a wonderful time with him, and then we drew him in Grand American, and he was just wonderful. But to see people like that through and through, everywhere you see them, that are consistently honest and nice, that's refreshing, because I do feel like the sport has changed.
Oh, it has, Jason. I don't know. I ain't smart enough to figure out if it's just got more competitive, or the money's involved, or what it is. But the sport's changed. I mean, back when we first started hunting in big hunts, we done it for recognition, and so we could say we won a big hunt. But at the end of the day, we was all still buddies.
Right.
I don't know that it's still like that, to be honest with you.
Sometimes, you go to a hunt, you draw out with good guys, and they congratulate you, your dog does a good job. They shake your hand, say you done well. But I think we've lost a lot of the camaraderie in the sport. I think, and I'm not saying at every hunt because I go to hunts that I have a great time, you know, and everybody's nice and we all
Me
do
too.
good. But from listening to stories, Jimmy and my dad and my grandpa telling me, you know, back in the day, it was like a big get together. Is what it was like going to a comp hunt. I mean, everybody,
Reunion.
you know, it was like going to a reunion or something. And
That's right.
and now I think some hunts is still that way, but some aren't. I think we're losing a little bit of that.
Do you think it's because my generation, your generation, they're just too competitive?
I think
so. That could be part of it. You know, we are very competitive, but now I say this, and Jimmy may disagree with me. Now, that generation is darn sure competitive too, but I think we've lost a lot of respect for other people.
Fair enough.
You know, that the generation before us, like your dad and my grandpa and Jimmy, that generation, you know, there was a lot of respect there, and I think a lot of the younger generation, they've kind of lost that respect for their other people.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because that you say that, because it's amazing at the hunts when I show up at the hunts with my dad, my mom, you know, she's in the Florida State Hall of Fame now, and I'm so proud of her for that accomplishment. But when you go out to these big hunts and these folks, they walk up there by just one after another and after another, and to see how many people know my mom and dad for the impact they've had in the sport, it's humbling. It is so humbling. I sit back in awe. And that's why I want to talk on this radio show, because I get to meet people like Mr. Jimmy here and get to share the experience and also share the knowledge that I've gained throughout the years from my family. You know, and I do agree. I think that there needs to be a little bit more respect in the sport. Is the respect gone? No. I've had a bunch. I probably had more better casts than I've had bad casts for sure.
Exactly.
But I do think that some of it has gone.
Yeah. I'll tell you something I want to see, Jason. When me and Tanner goes to a hunt, of course, he's handling the dog. I'm a truck man, drinking coffee. But if he gets feet fair and square, I expect him to shake in people's hands and say, "We had a good hunt. Y'all had a good dog, and I enjoyed it." And that's it.
Right.
And if he don't, we're going to have a problem.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But you know, he's good about doing that. He's always been good about doing it. You know, so Tanner's he's a good handler, and I wish they'd have some more of these squirrel competition hunts closer than what they do, where I could let him handle my dog. And me be a truck man and drink coffee. And because he's jam up handler. As you well know, he's jam up handler.
Yeah, he's tough to beat. He's tough to beat. Tanner, what impressed me about Tanner was, number one, was his attitude. I mean, it's all about attitude with me. And when he came down to Florida, he hunted with me. He was interested in fancy, and I said, "Look here, let's go to the woods, because I want to see what you are, not only as a person, I want to see what you are in the woods, because what I see in the woods is what you really are."
That's right.
And that's where you find what a real man is. All you got to do is watch what you're hunting with, and a dog will tell you the truth, folks. And this ain't no lie. And Mr. Jimmy, I promise you back me up on this. You go out there and you go hunting, you watch that man's dog and watch his characteristics, you'll learn that man real fast.
Real quick.
100%. 100%. You'll learn how much respect he'll have for others. There's quite a bit of cool things that you can learn from animals just by training them.
That's right. I've learned a lot. You know, my dog trained me as much as I trained him.
Absolutely. I've always said this Cheddar dog, Tanner gave me his thermal. And when I got Tanner's thermal, I've walked probably 8 trees, Jimmy, and I'm being dead honest with you, where I said that dog was dead minus. I go out there with that freaking thermal, throw that thermal up there, and no, he's sitting there. There he is. Now, so there's another advancement in the game.
Yeah.
That y'all didn't have back in the day. And I wonder how many times that you, me, Tanner, we've all walked to the trees and thought there was a coon was never there. And he was there.
Many a time. You know, we could have probably won a couple of world hunts if we'd had that back in the day.
Hey, man, that's the truth.
Where you couldn't find a coon.
There's a lot of truth to it. And it's turned into a pretty controversial issue, whether to use thermals, not use thermals, whether to use the Garmin's, not use the Garmin's. The way I look at it is, listen, I don't care. You want to try to treat your dog off the Garmin, that's fine. But at the end of the day, we got to hear him. Sure. If we don't hear that dog, we can't treat that dog.
That's right.
So go ahead.
Especially on these hunts, I mean, I can understand a guy putting a collar on his dog before you ever cast him the first time. But, a man's got to needs to learn how his dog hunts, and ain't got to depend on that. I know when mine's treed, when he comes on that tree, he's going to be there.
Yeah.
And you ain't got to look at that Garmin for it to tell you.
No, I ain't got to look at that Garmin. I look at Tanner and say, old Rooster done busted another one.
Look out.
The meat's there. Rooster. Load your shotgun because he's there.
He's there, boys.
He gets in a pretty good habit of that. I think I hear that a little bit too much sometimes. The Rooster, he's got him. I go, God bless, we got to walk again. He puts it on us pretty good.
Yeah, but I tell you what, not to change the subject, but I sure am looking forward to you coming up here this winter.
Jimmy, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be an honor to come up there. I've been really looking forward to getting into squirrel hunting. I got some pecan orchards and stuff, and I'm really looking forward to putting these squirrel pups in the pecans.
I tell you what, we can get you started without a doubt. I ain't got no doubts about that. Myself, Tanner, Dave, and Tanner's grandpa David, we worked pretty hard, and we got a good breed of dogs, and I'll stand behind that breed of dogs. And been doing it a long time. I don't claim to know everything, but I know a little bit. But right. We can definitely set you up and get you the right pup that you need. And it'd be an honor. Spend time with it.
It'd be an honor. It'd sure be an honor to own one off of you. And Jimmy, I really appreciate all your knowledge and that you've shared with us.
Speaking of deer, what's them skulls you got hanging behind you there, Jason?
Oh, dude. So this is some of the stuff my mom has drawn. She's an artist. Yep. And this is a hog we've killed here. This is another hog here. This is old turtle shell that we found that was actually just rotted out. So we found the old shell and just Mama took it, painted it up. But I do got something I can share that I wasn't even going to share, but then you bring it up. You see that thing right there?
Mm-hmm.
That right there, folks, is a longhorn skull that my mom painted in mossy oak paint. And it is absolutely stunning. It's a one-time piece. And she actually said, Jason, why don't you throw it up in your display there? And we'll take the highest offer. And I said, well, I reckon we could do that. And I said, are you sure you want to get rid of it? Because it's one of her prized possessions. And she said, well, I would love for someone in your audience to own something like this. So, folks, there you go. This is a one-time piece by Janice Hunter. I will be taking some close-up shots of it. I mean, her work is unbelievable. Wow. So thank you for bringing that up, Tanner. I mean, that really means the world to Mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
she's a very talented lady. I tell you, I think the world of your mom, Miss Janice, what all she's accomplished. She's been good to me and my family, and I think the world of her. I do.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, to be honest with you, Tanner, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't not only for her, but what she's done for me today. Everything I learned, brother. I started with my dad with my dad's coonhounds showing. My mom and I did. It started with 2 dogs. And I'll never forget, Mom got All-American Joe, and we started winning with him. And then after that, it just took off like a rocket ship. Mama went into breeding hounds, and now we're I think over 27, 28 years into breeding this line of hounds. And what my mom has, it's insane, Jimmy. It really is. I mean, she has been breeding these dogs, same line, for this long. And on a national level, winning consistently year after year after year. And now it took us 10, 15 years to get there. But, I can tell you this, it was earned. There was nothing gave to us. And what we learned along the way from all the wonderful folks, your Johnny Brinkleys, your Lee Kearns, there's some amazing people, Connie Hogan's. I mean, just amazing people out there with so much talent that have so much wisdom to share with you. If it wasn't for all those folks in that sport being so kind and so nice to me at a young age, I wouldn't be where I am today. But I also wouldn't be there if it wasn't for my mom's intelligence and in knowing how to breed hounds.
Well, I tell you what, she knows a lot.
She does, Jimmy. She does. And she's in the Hall of Fame for a reason, and she deserves it.
That's right.
She got a gift that a lot of people don't have, you know.
She really does. She's got a gift that I don't have. The only gift I have is gab. But guys, I want to tell you, it's been an honor talking to you, Jimmy. It really has. And Tanner, I really appreciate you coming on as a co-host. You've been a great friend, and we're going to continue this on. Folks, just so you know, Tanner, if I'm ever out, Tanner will be stepping in as my co-host, and he'll be coming on from time to time. We got to do a big shout out to Razor. I mean, Razor took care of Tanner. Sir. They took care of Mr. Jimmy. I mean, that all came from Ringtails and Tall Tales. Give him a look him up. They got some of the best gear on the market. Jimmy.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I love you, brother. I'm going to take you up on that squirrel dog now. I'm coming for you.
Well, I got to say one thing before we hang up, Jason.
Yes,
sir. Been through some kind of tough times, but anytime that I've ever needed help with anything, I can call Tanner, Dave, Amy, or any of that bunch, and they're on the spot. They come running. So I appreciate it, Tanner. I appreciate everything you do for me.
Yes, sir. No problem. Appreciate you, Jim.
You're the man.
And Tanner, you really and truly,
Thank you,
Tanner.
Jason. I enjoyed it, buddy.
100%. And Tanner, really and truly, son, you ought to be proud of yourself. You hold yourself up to a higher level than most people your age. And that's why you're on the that's why you're on the pro staff, Tanner, and that's why you're appreciated, is because of who you are. And
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me, guys.
Your mom and daddy done a hell of a job.
We give Dad some slack a little bit, but he done a heck of a job.
All the slack you can give him, give it to him. Cause I'm gonna tell you what, he's gonna give it back, and then he's gonna take care of it.
He'll give it back.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's
He'll
right.
give it back.
Well, God bless you guys. It was an honor talking to you. Guys, stay tuned. Like, share, smash that subscribe button. Let's have some fun. Jimmy, thank you. Tanner Mooney.
Yes, sir.
See you down the road, homie.
See you next time.
Next time.
See you, buddy. Thank you.
Stay tuned for more content from Hunter's Wheelhouse. Thanks for watching. See you next time.